for you is, what do you derive from the directing side as a pleasure and stimulation as an artist that you don't get out of the acting? How's it different?
Well, they're really complementary, I find, but the thing that's so extraordinary about being a director, particularly a film director, or when you're creating a television series, like I did last year with this show called The Divide, where when you're, the central kind of storyteller, you are just that. You're the central storyteller, and you interface with every single person. As you know, there are, over 100 people that contribute to a piece of filmed entertainment. And as the director and often producer, you're the person who really interfaces with everybody and helps kind of shape and guide that and learn from all these creative folks. Whereas an actor, you're there to play your part and do that and collaborate mainly with the actors and director and the camera people, but you don't have that intimacy with all the other departments. So that's the thing I find so inspiring about directing. I'm only telling you guys. Don't tell Sean that I said it. I would walk out of this room and I would not have a job. So as people know who are Scandal fans, Fitz and Olivia are finally together. It's not going to be easy. So where we go, and I booted Melly out the door because she helped murder 17 people, which she claims was not her fault at all, but I disagree with that. So it really, what we launch into this season is looking, well, what does that look like and what does that mean for Liv and Fitz to try and be together? And yes, it's hot and sexy and fantasy fulfillment, but is the reality match the fantasy? And I don't mean so much, I think it's clear Fitz and Olivia, what they feel about each other is deep and genuine and real. But what I find really fascinating, what we really get into exploring, is the impact of their circumstances. It's like, okay, be careful what you wish for. What does it mean when the President of the United States and the woman he loves, who is not his wife, suddenly try and make it work in the fishbowl that is the White House and all the pressures, and an ex-wife who has been turned out of the house, and so yeah, hijinks ensue, I guess.
Hijinks ensue. So one of the things that's very intriguing.
Yeah, first of all, social media has been everything for Scandal, and those of you who have been a part of it, you've made our show a success. So thanks.
You're welcome.
And we love collaborating with you guys, really, and that relationship. It started with Kerry Washington. Kerry is much smarter than the rest of us, and Kerry had her finger on that pulse already. And I think the way it happened was Kerry went to Shonda and said, "We have to get on social media." I think Shonda also was very into Twitter, but it was fairly early days, and it wasn't that long ago, and so Shonda said, "You're absolutely right," and Kerry said, "What about live tweeting and starting to engage the audience right up front?" So Shonda and Kerry talked about it, and they talked to us as a cast and said, "Look, we want to do this. Is everybody on board?" And I was terrified of Twitter. I was like, I don't know, that's not me, I'm too old, I don't know, I can't communicate, and that's what's wrong with our society, communicating in 149 characters, I was very judgmental of it. And I said, but when Shonda tells me to do something, I do it. So we all agreed that we would live tweet during our broadcasts, and then they got ABC on board, and ABC had a point person they sort of assigned because they wanted to get into that as well. But really what happened with the show was, from our very first show, we started tweeting at, our show was then on at 10 o'clock at night, now it's on at 9 o'clock, but from the first show, we all get on Twitter 2 hours a night, East Coast and West Coast, and we do the work. And we formed real relationships with people. So what happened was the audience discovered Twitter, honestly. Discovered Scandal before the network did, I believe. Yeah. And this is no slam on ABC, but I don't think ABC quite knew what they had. But the audience got it instantaneously, and we developed this profound loyalty of our gladiators, and it caught fire. It wasn't really into our second season that there was this sort of brush fire that was called Scandal, and then the press started realizing it, and then it caught in media, and I think gradually in the second season, ABC were like, wow, we have a tiger by the tail here, And then, you know, but it really was social media that made our show a hit. And we're very committed to it and try and keep that up every day, and we're so grateful for it.
So one of the things that Scandal got rid
of... You know, it's so true. I think it's one of the main reasons Scandal's so successful, because it's provocative and on that exact issue. You know, we all want, here's why I think it is. I think that, the idea of doing what's forbidden is just really sexy and exciting. I think also the idea that there's the big love out there, that connection that is your soulmate, the one, that sexual, spiritual, emotional, intellectual connection with that one person. We want that to trump everything. And look, every marriage is difficult and has its difficulties. And you go through, you know, patches in every marriage where you're like, wow, this is hard. Or, you know, you go through ups and downs, and you always, I think, often secretly, we're in our day-to-day relationship, and you fantasize about what if I could jump out for a minute, you know what I mean? And so that's a fantasy. Then there's the other part of it, which I think is what's really compelling about it, and it's kind of what I referenced when you first asked about what's happening this season, is the nexus of fantasy meets reality. So you know, and I think what most people find when they have affairs, frankly, is there's that erotic charge you have of that connection that's based on a fantasy. Then you bring that into reality, and suddenly you're like, wait a minute, this is different. This is like my marriage. You know? Like, so there's that thing of, you know, of human beings exploring, well, wait a minute, what is real? What's real religion? What's real connection? What's real humanity? And, you know, we want Fitz and Olivia to get there. I do. You know, look, Fitz and Melly have a very damaged relationship for so many reasons, which is an outrageous extension, like we talked about what Shonda does, of a lot of marriages, but Fitz and Melly are like on steroids. And yet they love each other, and yet they hate each other, and yet they try, and yet they have a family, and they are family, and they're partners, but they're not. And they, you know, and there are elements of that in every marriage. So I think those issues you raise are what makes the show compelling, and there is no easy answer. And we do feel ashamed that we crave that, and yet we like, I want to be, he should go back to his wife, what the hell? You know, some people hate me, you know, they do. And other people, I fulfilled their fantasy, you know, and it's neither. So anyway, it's a great question.
We have time for one more question over here.